Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen Amma ba'd fa'auzu billahi min shaitan rajim Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah
As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah
Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah
Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah
As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabi Allah
As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabi Allah
Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nur Allah
Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nur Allah.
During the time of Sayyidina Farooq-e-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, there was a person who was very pious. This person, after performing his Isha Salah, used to go and look after his father. And whilst en route, a beautiful looking woman used to call him towards her and tease him, inviting him towards sin. But the young man used to ignore the woman by keeping his gaze lowered and continued to walk. Subhanallah. But unfortunately, eventually one day, he became trapped by the shaitan and went towards the invitation of the woman. But as soon as he got to the front door of her house, he remembered an ayat of the Holy Quran. Surat Araf, verse number 201, translation from the glorious Kanzul Iman Sharif. No doubt, who fear Allah Azza wa Jal, when they get thoughts by shaitan, they become more alert. And as soon as he remembered this verse, the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal overtook him, and he was so frightened that he fainted and fell to the ground. He remained in that state for a long period. Eventually, after some time, his father went out searching for him and found him unconscious on the doorstep of the woman's house. With the assistance of others, his father brought him back home in this state. And when the son regained his consciousness, his father asked him what had happened. So the son told the whole story, and while he was telling his father, he reached the same ayat of Surat Araf, and again he screamed in fear, and at that moment of his screaming, his soul left his body. The preparation for the funeral and burial was carried out that night. The following morning, Hazrat Umar Farooq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was told about this incident, so he came and paid his respect to the father. He stated that if you had told us, we would have participated in the funeral as well. The father replied, O leader of the Muslims, we were worried about you, that you would not be able to rest properly, so we did not disturb you. Hazrat Umar radiyallahu anhu stated, take me to the grave of this young man. And when he reached the grave, he recited from Surat Rahman, the 46th ayat, translation again from the glorious Kanzul Iman Sharif. Whoever fears from Allah, there are two heavens for him. After reciting this ayat, there was a voice heard from the grave. No doubt that Allah Azza wa Jal has given me two heavens. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My dear Islamic brothers, you have heard how this young man refrained from committing this major sin and tried to keep away from such a place. But what is happening to us in this day and age? Our state is such that where there is a sin being committed, we go running towards it. No matter what type of sin this may be, we are so joyful to go towards it, and to justify this, we say to ourselves we're having a night out or something. My dear Islamic brothers, the meaning of fear of Allah Azza wa Jal is something different. We are ignoring this subject. We forget that we have to account for everything we do. In this short life, we have big ambitions. We don't even know what our destination will be. when we die, whether it is hell or heaven, yet we are concerned about the achievements in this world. Nowadays we are very careless as to what we do, but if we are able to instill in us fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, then we can benefit in this world and in the hereafter. But the problem is, the fear we have is that we live in fear of losing things which we think we own. Our health, our youth, our life, our wife, our children, money, jobs. And indeed most of our time and efforts are spent to secure these things. We take our banker's advice, we take our lawyer's advice, our doctors, we economize, we are jealous of our legal rights, we diet and we take our pills to somewhat appease our fears of losing our material well-being. We buy insurance, open savings account, have medical checkups, swallow vitamins, jog in the street, and to have people's esteem, we appear not as we are, but the way they wish us to be. Some also fear losing their good reputation, honor, respect, and love of others. Fewer still are afraid of losing their minds, their faith, their hope for salvation in the hereafter, and their religion. The very few who are afraid to lose their faith and their place in paradise squeeze in a few minutes of prayer a day, a few days of fasting a year, and even cheat on paying their zakat, which they pay, while they would never dare cheat the INAV revenue. We complain of fatigue, stress, injustice, lack of good luck, and of society, economy, bosses, employees, neighbors, mothers, fathers, wives and husbands, and our children, just about everything and everybody, and we rarely find fault with ourselves. In spite of all this effort, we cannot eliminate our fears. In fact, the more we try and fail, the worse we feel, and our fears increase. This is the state of the world today. The solution which the rulers of this world give us, the politicians, the media, etc., have found is to offer amusement and fun. They say, have a night out, take a holiday, take a break. Their remedy is not to seek strength to face this situation, but to forget, to be distracted. It does not work. The drunkard wakes up with a hangover after having a night out. He returns to the same problem accompanied with a splitting headache. In reality, there is nothing to fear except ourselves, our ego, and its insustainable appetite, which will always want more than it has, even if it had the whole world. What is one supposed to do to stop this insanity? How do we live this life in peace and with sanity? Indeed, there is no comfort in this world. It is a hard test which lasts 70 to 80 years, through which we must pass to meet our Lord Azza wa Jal. We can achieve this by practicing our religion and teaching others. Our society is far from the reality of religion, and everyone wants to achieve wealth, be of high status, regardless how this is achieved, not realizing that we will die one day and have to account for everything. Therefore, the only fear we should have is the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. As Muslims, we have a firm belief that my Lord Azza wa Jal is watching every action I do. What is the meaning of fear of Allah Azza wa Jal? It is knowing Allah Azza wa Jal's punishment is so severe that it makes our hearts tremble. Our hearts tremble we will refrain. If our hearts tremble, we will refrain from committing sins. We tend to commit sins when no one is watching us, but we forget that our Lord Allah Azza wa Jal is watching us. If we keep this in mind, then we'll refrain from committing sins. However, there are some people who commit sins openly. They are shameless and are very weak in having fear from Allah Azza wa Jal. Watching movies is common within our society. No matter what type of movie it is, we often have such scenes which are not permissible to watch with family, but we continue to do so as we don't consider this as a sin. But on the other hand, we know that drinking alcohol is haram. It is also being drunk like water. Although both of these are sins in the court of Allah Azza wa Jal, the alcoholic considers this to be bad in front of people and would not drink because he fears as what will people say. Our condition is such that we fear other people as to what so and so will say, but not fear Allah Azza wa Jal. This is a main cause, as we have stopped fearing Allah Azza wa Jal but begun to fear what people say, as they will talk bad about us. Until a Muslim feared Allah Azza wa Jal, the whole of the world used to fear the Muslims. Now that the Muslims have stopped fearing Allah Azza wa Jal, he fears the rest of the world. We fear as to what people will say. Take adultery. If a man goes towards that, he will think as to what people will say. If they find out, not because he fears Allah Azza wa Jal, listening to music, backbiting, slandering is common within our society today, and this is no longer considered a sin. Our mentality is, what will people say, what will people say? Regardless what we do, we constantly think and worry about what will people say. We do everything to please others because we are worried what will people say. We don't realize whether this is pleasing our beloved sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam and our creator Allah Azza wa Jal. If we are invited somewhere, we think, should we go or not? Why? Because what will people say? Going to a wedding, what will people say? Standing in front of a mirror, what will people say? Visitors are coming to my house, what will people say? Buying a gift, what will people say? Going to the masjid, what will people say? Coming from the masjid, what will people say? Wearing or removing shoes, what will people say? Putting a pen in your pocket, what will people say? Wearing a watch, what will people say? In every aspect, we are concerned about what will people say. Why does not a Muslim consider what will Allah Azza wa Jal say? And what Allah Azza wa Jal has ordered us. Instead of thinking, what will people say? And what will people say? What do you think people will say? They will talk good about you in front of you, but behind you they will make negative remarks about you. But all we are worried about is what will people say. We have taken the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal out of our hearts and are beginning to put the fear of public into our hearts. And I'll give you an example, my dear Islamic brothers. Once a brother who joined the whole of Dawat Islami, he went on holiday with friends of his. And on this holiday, after they had a meal, they sat down, there was 10 of them. And he had this little bit of fear in his heart for Allah Azza wa Jal. So he asked a question to his friends. And these people that were sitting there, these were so-called, that society calls educated people, accountants, solicitors, barristers, sitting in this company. So he asked them the question, today, if a woman comes up to you and says, I want to spend the night with you, what's going to stop you? Out of these 10 people, my dear Islamic brothers, the answers and the replies this brother got was, the relationship I have with my wife. I could never do this because of my children. My business, just imagine my business partners were to find out what I did. How disgraceful will I look in front of them? Out of those 10 people, my dear Islamic brothers, not a single person said that I feared Allah Azza wa Jal. Not a single person said that I feared Allah Azza wa Jal. What Allah Azza wa Jal will say and what His beloved Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will say. Not a single person said that. This is the lowest of the low. And we in society give these sort of people respect up to here. These are the so-called educated people. And they don't have no fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. This brother realized that he had to change the company of these people. He realized that these people were sucking him in towards the fire of hell. He realized that he had to have the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal in his heart. He realized that these people were no good for him. Within 6 months he moved away from that company and now is fully involved in the mahol of Dawat Islami. My dear Islamic brothers, this brother changed. But what will make us change? It is stated, translation from the glorious Kanzul Iman Sharif, Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, fear me if you have belief. And in another ayat, again translation from Kanzul Iman, Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, fear Allah Azza wa Jal, you should fear Him. Those who fear Allah Azza wa Jal will benefit in this world and the hereafter. And those who do not fear Allah Azza wa Jal, then you know where their success will be. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us the ability to fear Him and live our lives according to the teachings of the Quran and Sunnah. And alhamdulillah, as I said, the beautiful environment of Dawat Islami saved that brother. You know, in the beginning I narrated that story about the young man. What saved him? The Quran saved him. Our Shaykh Tariqat Amir al-Sunnat Damat Barakatuh Aliyah, he has given this booklet, this little beautiful booklet of 72 Madani Inamat cards. And you know, we think this booklet and the questions that are in that booklet are being plucked out the air. Remember, brothers, there is great wisdom behind those questions. Great wisdom behind them. And one of those questions is, did you today read 3 ayats of the Holy Quran with translation and commentary? Why is Amir al-Sunnat saying that to you? Because it would save you from situations like that young man faced. If you knew what you were reciting, if you knew what the commentary behind that verse was, it would save you in situations like this. And another beautiful Madani Inamat card, keep your gaze lowered. Another point in the Madani Inamat card is keep your gaze lowered. Look at society today. Look out there today. There is everything out there pulling you towards sin. Everything out there. You just walk out this masjid. This masjid is like a protected fortress for you. Our beloved Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, and only words of truth have come out of the beloved's lips. Remember that when he says to you that the masjid is paradise for you, the markets are hell for you, he is telling you the truth. And you know, when you leave this masjid, you are going into hell. As soon as you walk out, you have left this protected area. Why do Dawat Islami's ijtima's, gatherings, Dawat, Neki ki Dawat, Dars take place inside the masjid? This is a protected fortress for you, my dear Islamic brothers. And when will we realize? You know, we've been given so many things by Amir al-Sunnat just to keep us away from sin. You know, I'd rather be spending my last few breaths giving neki ki dawat or giving some sort of dars or standing here and delivering a bayan than be out there filling my eyes with sin. Realize this, my dear Islamic brothers. When will we realize this? Just like that brother realized that this company that he had. And you know, some people will give, you know, they would murder people to get company like that. To be in company of barristers and solicitors, you know, they would pay people to get into that sort of company. But he left that company because he realized that this company is no good for me. This company is not leading me. And as I said, we have a short life, a very short life. We think it's going along slowly, but these 70, 80 years, that whatever Allah Azza wa Jal has destined for us is not going to last. And you hear about this death, that death, and you hear about 16-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds passing away. The angel of death doesn't look at the age of the person. He looks at the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. And when your time is come, when you are destined to go, you will go. But wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be beneficial to you if you was to go and you are doing some sort of dars? You are giving neki ki dawat. You are calling people towards the house of Allah Azza wa Jal. Wouldn't it be better like that? My dear Islamic brothers, think carefully. Think carefully and don't care about what people will say. Think about what your beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam will say, and think about what Allah Azza wa Jal will say. May Allah Azza wa Jal accept what has been said. Ameen bijahi Nabil. Ameen.